Welcome, heels and baby faces, to another episode of Rob is War, the podcast with the most attitude. I'm the Rob.
And I'm the Murph. And I just want to cut to the chase, like, they say. That the last episode we mentioned who was the king of wrestling, Tony Khan or Vince McMahon, but we did not exactly get to that point.
Well, you know my thoughts and you know my opinions on it. I mean, since I was a WCW kid, and since they're always comparing, it seems like it, to WCW, I'm going to go with Tony Khan and AEW. Suck my nuts out.
And me, since I grew up watching the WWF, I'm going to go with Vince McMahon. But now, now I'm talking about the WWF.
So what you're trying to tell me is that you're going to go with Mr. McMahon and not Vince McMahon. Is that correct? Are we going with Mr. McMahon? You know, who was obviously
Mr. McMahon.
the biggest heel in all of professional wrestling during that era.
Damn right, Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with Tony. And the reasons why I'm gonna go with Tony is obviously because, like, yeah, although they're a new company and they, got their start in what, like 2018. That was when they had there was that All In pay-per-view, in Chicago, which, for those who don't know and for those who haven't even watched that pay-per-view yet, All In was a pay-per-view that basically was funded by the Elite themselves. It was funded by Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks. I believe Adam Cole was there too, if I'm correct. I'm not too sure. Do you remember that event?
I saw the event, but I don't remember Adam Cole. That was in 2018, wasn't he? In the WWE in 2017.
You might have been correct. I think maybe around those times he probably was already beginning his role as the leader of the Undisputed Era, and all that stuff was
Yeah.
about to be taking place. But the point is that I'm going with Tony is because of the fact that this AEW has been, in such short amount of time, uh, they've excelled, they've succeeded in all
Oh
this,
yeah.
all that stuff.
Survived the pandemic.
Survived the pandemic. They've already survived this whole
Cancel
cancel
culture.
culture thing about,
Ouch.
um, and um, and they even survived a death.
Yeah.
Which is one of the biggest deaths, obviously, with Brody Lee. And I
Brody
think
Lee.
we can also argue the fact that they've put on one of the best tribute shows I've ever seen in
I
wrestling.
agree. That was just a real good one.
I mean, because when was the last time that I remember watching a good tribute show? I would have to say that'd be like Eddie Guerrero,
Yeah.
when
Owen
they
Hart
actually,
too.
yeah.
But before,
But I'm
this
talking about Eddie
happened.
Guerrero was probably like the last,
Oh yeah.
like the last one that they put on a full on tribute show where every match is dedicated to him. They're wearing the
Yeah.
armbands. They're doing all that stuff. I don't
Oh
think they've
yeah.
ever. I mean, they didn't do that for China. They
Because
didn't.
China wasn't part of it then.
I mean, they didn't do that for the Ultimate Warrior.
I know they just did like the 10 bell salute and had people outside, but they didn't really go too far into it.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
didn't
think.
really fully. I mean, but it would be cool for for wrestling shows to do that, to pay
Yeah,
respect and homage to something like that. But
yeah.
but yeah, and I don't know, Al. Why are the reasons why you would side with Vince? I mean, during that era. I mean, obviously we know during this times or whatever. I mean, he's completely losing it.
Yeah, he is completely losing it. But then because that's what I grew up watching the Mr. McMahon character feuding with Stone Cold and getting in like the whole corp corporation and corporate ministry.
Yeah, which was good times, and like and the same. Well, for me, for AEW, there's a lot of similarities to WCW, and I know they get compared to WCW a
Yeah,
lot. Although Tony Khan has gone on record by saying like they are not by any means anywhere near WCW. I mean, sure he was a fan of it and stuff, but also I like to think that he's not going to make the same mistakes they did.
yeah.
I like to think that he's gonna make his own path. Like obviously he's gonna take bits and pieces of stuff that they probably did right,
Yeah,
but he's also gonna look at the mistakes and say like we're not gonna repeat those same mistakes. Even though I know there's like a lot of similarities as well. Like for me, like when John Moxley came out through the crowd,
yeah,
which for the people who don't know, obviously Dean Ambrose, who was with the Shield, would do the same thing. He would come out in the crowd in WWE,
yeah.
but like it kind of reminded me
When
also
Scott
of,
Hall
yeah,
going,
he knew where I was going with this.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, the infamous Scott Hall coming
entrance.
through the crowd,
Yeah,
and people didn't know, like, is this an invasion? What's going
yeah.
on here?
He was like, "You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here."
That was a pretty good Scott Hall impression. Hey
Oh,
yo,
hurry up!
Chico, survey says.
One more for the good guys or bad
And
guys.
but could you only imagine if there was, Facebook and social media and the internet during those times? Do you think the surprise element of that would have been as would it have been more like less,
Special.
yeah, less special than what it was?
Yeah. I think the internet really screwed our surprises.
Yeah, for sure. For
Especially for
sure.
CM Punk coming in, that could have and like
Well, I
and
mean,
Daniel Bryan and stuff.
yeah, and I can see that too. Then now
Should have
you're
been
getting,
left quiet instead of teasing it all week long.
yeah, and they dropped a lot of hints too. I mean, obviously the
Yeah,
the last biggest hint was with Darby Allen saying, I want to take on the best in the world, and everyone already knew what that meant,
yeah.
But yeah, like that's why I'm kind of having to go with AEW here, is because like you said, they survived some pretty big stuff in such a short amount of time. But not only that, for the people that don't know, Tony Khan is also the son of Shahid Khan. I think that's how you pronounce it. Shahid Khan, who is part owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you got this,
Hmm.
Pakistani, American billionaire, and he's the
Yeah.
son. He's the son of this billionaire, and basically you have just a legit wrestling fan like you and I are,
Oh yeah.
uh, who decided to, to venture off into the wrestling business.
Hell yeah. And I understand you know a little bit of Vince McMahon's past too.
Yes, that's correct. I mean, Vince McMahon was obviously born in 1945 of August 24th. It's funny because, we were talking about this off camera about how he wasn't even a McMahon yet. You
Yeah.
know, his name was Vinny Lupton.
Vinny Lupton. Vinny Lupton.
Vinny Lupton.
Lupton.
And honestly,
Oh,
maybe honestly, he should have done something with that. Could you
yeah.
imagine if he had an alter ego from Mr. McMahon to
Vinny
Vinny Lupton?
Lupton.
He also attended military school. He overcame a dyslexia. He graduated in 1968 at East Carolina University
Ooh.
for a business degree.
So it explains why he is a businessman.
Yeah,
He's
but see,
smart
the
on
thing
that.
the thing is, he didn't go into the wrestling business
Yeah.
until after he was like about 12. You know,
Yeah.
so because he didn't know his dad until he was 12.
Yeah.
So he was living with his mom and apparently a bunch of stepfathers back in those
Eh,
times. And
Yeah.
he even gone on record saying that the bastard got away before I could kill him.
Hey,
That was it. Those were exact quote from McMahon himself.
Vince McMahon savage.
He's savage, man. He's a savage. He's an entrepreneur, but I mean, you got to give it to that.
Yeah.
And not only that, so like I said, he didn't know his dad until he was 12. But then he started commentating. You know, for he started commentating for obviously Vincent McMahon Sr. in the WWF. The
Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
and he was commentating from 1971 until 1997.
Nice.
I mean, bro,
I
I
remember
mean,
that the last time he commentated was, I want to say, the Raw before Survivor Series, before the infamous screw job.
but he had a voice for commentating too. He was
Oh
really
yeah, he
good.
did. Oh yeah, he
Honestly,
did.
I know a lot of people say that Vince McMahon is gonna go down as like the greatest, biggest heel of all time. You know,
I want to say he's gonna go down one of the greatest commentary. I know he did some commentary with Jesse, the Body Ventura. He did some
Macho
with
Man,
yeah, Macho Man and King and
Bobby the
Jr.
Brain.
Bobby the Brain.
Remember that first episode of Raw or whatever where they locked where they Bobby the Brain
He was
Heenan was
locked out
kicked
the
out. Yeah, he was
ability
locked out, and,
throughout the
and
whole show trying to get back in.
he was all trying to get in, and wasn't he dressed up as a woman or something like that?
Yeah.
And then, if serve me correct, was that also the episode where they Repo Man repoed Macho Man's vehicle or something like that?
I don't remember. I
I
gotta
don't
watch
know.
it
It was
again.
something like that. They were trying to set up a feud and stuff, and Repo Man, that's my that's my car, bitch.
It's funny.
But yeah, I mean, I mean, not only that, Vincent McMahon Senior's dad, Jesse McMahon, he owned a half. It was like a half wrestling, half boxing promotion called
Oh, nice.
CWC, which was the stand for Capital Wrestling Corporation. And so that's kind of how the whole WWF stuff
Get
started.
started.
Yeah, they were New Yorkers and from the New York area and had territory over there, and that explains why they always give, I guess, crap to AEW if say AEW was to ever try to do anything in the Madison Square Garden. It's going to be a tough thing. I mean, you're going to have to go through the McMahons in order to get that venue. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, didn't Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling do it?
Yeah, and who knows? Well, because from what I know, is you gotta look at it this way, where guys like Daniel Bryan, Brian Danielson, or Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, they all come from Ring of Honor. So
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure WWE had a partnership or something going on there too.
probably. We never
Because
know.
that was like a launching pad for the next WWE stars. Like
Oh
I think
yeah,
the launching pad for AEW right now is MLW,
yeah,
and then you got all these Lucha Underground wrestlers that are there. Because you want to talk about like how AEW always gets crap for because they're bringing in ex WWE guys, and it's like
yeah,
no, they were not even ex WWE guys until like they weren't even there that long. Is what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
To be considered like ex WWE alumni, even though they worked there and all that stuff, and
yeah,
even though like having the brand name WWE is gonna give them more star power, you
yeah.
know. But I mean, talk to me when someone like John Cena or The Undertaker or something goes to AEW.
Man,
Then you can
that would
say
be
it was an
yeah.
ex WWE guy.
Like Hulk Hogan was an ex WWE guy when he went to WCW.
And which is funny, what you're saying right there is going back into the Vince stuff, right? Uh, Vince and Linda founded Titan Sports in 1979, which is ultimately going to lead to what we're going to get with the Attitude Era and the Pyro, the Titantron, the big screens, the lights, the whole thing. That's where Titan Sports comes in. And it's funny enough that you said that because 1982 he buys out CWC, and in 1984 his dad passes, and also during that time that his dad passes, he recruits.
Hulk Hogan
Yep, he recruits Hulk Hogan, who and creates Rockin' Wrestling, aka Robin Wrestling,
and WrestleMania.
which ultimately, which is, I don't know if a lot of people from that era or from this generation even know what Rockin' Wrestling was. I mean, it was a partnership with MTV, and they also had partnership where they had these musicians and these celebrities crossing over into the wrestling world, which, like you said, ultimately becomes in 1985 WrestleMania 1 at Madison Square Garden, where we get people like Muhammad Ali and what Mr. T.
Yeah, I know.
We
I want to say Reba McIntyre appeared on one of the manias as well.
Huh, interesting. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
But I
I
remember
forget which one.
but I remember Roddy Piper gonna have a feud with like Mr. T or something like that.
Yeah, Paul Orndorff in there.
Yeah, Paul Orndorff and all that stuff. And not only then, not only that, then not only that, in 1987 they drew the biggest crowd of 93,000 up until the WrestleMania you attended, which
WrestleMania
is
32.
what the
32 in Dallas, Texas, 101,000.
and you damn it Al, were there, and I'm jealous. That's awesome. But you did bring me a shirt, so I
Yeah.
commend you, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
1979, they purchased their own Coliseum. And not only that, what I was gonna say with 1979 and them purchasing Titan Sports, that's also when like the WWE headquarters started happening and stuff.
Yeah.
And Titan Towers, right? Is that what they call it now?
In Connecticut and stuff.
Yeah. Yep. In Connecticut, gonna play the game.
Motorhead doing triple H's thing. That was awesome.
Which is hopefully going to be another episode entirely of its own,
Oh,
where we'll
yeah.
talk about theme songs. If that's something
And
y'all would be
music.
interested in.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Speaking of Linda McMahon, because like I said, if people who don't know who Linda McMahon is, she was part of Trump's administration office. So I don't know, Al. That's why I kind of like going with AEW here for more, because Tony, at least he is a vice president and knows like statistics and numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They own a soccer team. They own the
Football.
oldest. They own the oldest soccer team in London. That was goes way back to like 1887.
Football. In
Football.
London. Yeah, that's what they call it over there, I think.
He's the vice chairman of it. He's the vice chairman
Hey, that's
of
pretty cool.
Fulham FC. Tony was born in 1982 of October 10th, and maybe that explains why. I mean, if you think about it, maybe that explains why the anniversary of Dynamite is now in October,
Yeah.
which is weird. And he was known as Anthony Rafik Khan and
Like Shao Kahn.
Anthony,
Oh.
or in New Japan's the Great Okan.
Yeah.
doesn't the guy that's running the brand, or that turned this into NXT 2.0 or whatever, his
Nick Khan.
Nick Khan, is there any relation there?
I don't know. Maybe it's a plot. I don't know. Plot hole.
There's something going on there between the
Something
billionaires,
going on.
and for all I know, they could be working together.
It could be. But at the end of the day, the real kings of wrestling will be the fans because we're getting more wrestling.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's true. I mean, whether you want to go with Vince
WWE,
or you want to go with
AEW,
Tony, it doesn't matter.
or New Japan, Ring of Honor, there's a
At the
lot of wrestling
at
out
the end
there.
of the day, we all win.
We win. We
We
won.
win. That's the real of it all.
That's
You
true. The
know,
fans win.
the fans ultimately win. And like I said, I think it's all publicity. It's all business.
Oh, yeah.
There was a time I know Vince said something like he was saying like he even said on a comment or something about like I'm gonna release all this wrestlers so the other promotion could have more stars or something like that.
Yeah.
And like, was he really joking or was
I
it
don't
really?
know, because someone asked him about the former WWE stars going to AEW. He made some comment, some comment saying, "Oh, why? then why don't we give them some more? And then like a few days later, Bray Wyatt got released. I mean, that's fishy to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's something really at play with this, is what I'm saying. For
Yeah,
all we know, behind the scenes, they're both talking to each other. They call each other.
yeah,
They're part of this elite billionaire club, you know.
yeah.
Which is funny because ultimately, if we're gonna go with that route, ultimately, money wise, who do you think is winning though? How
Probably AEW because he has
how
more.
how much do you think Vince is worth right now?
Want to say 3 bill?
Yeah, he went down this year at two. He's at 2 billion,
Dang.
and in about 2018 or so, he was like at 3.6 billion. So he kind of lost a bit of money
Yeah,
for some reason. While Tony stands on top at 8 billion.
nice.
So I mean, but like you said, ultimately us fans win.
Oh yeah, we win.
Yeah, we do. Um, Going into other news, Al. Speaking of like because I don't I honestly really don't remember the predictions of what we're about to say here. But what do you think of Crown Jewel this past Thursday?
I saw the results, but I did not see it.
And I got to see it, and let me tell you, Al, I thought it was one of the better Crown Jewels they ever done. Honestly,
Nice.
honestly, with the exception of the women's match, which I thought was like it felt like a filler match or something. I don't know, man. I mean, and what I mean by
Was
the
it?
women's match, because obviously there was two of them. It
Yeah.
was, you know what? I'm skipping ahead. Let me just go down the card, and we'll just dissect a little bit of it here. So I think this was a pre-show match, or people like to freaking complain, buy-in.
Yeah.
um, I don't know if you know this, Al, but Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, they reunited, and the Hurt Business is back.
I heard about that. That's pretty good.
Yes, yes. So the Hurt Business is back, and so we had um, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin versus the Usos,
Nice.
and then obviously the Usos won. Now here's my thing
Obviously.
with that. I thought that the Hurt Business should have won,
Yeah.
because I mean
That
they
would have
always
made more
it's one
sense.
of those things where they always give it to the Usos. Or
Yeah.
was at that time frame they were always giving it to the Usos, or they're always giving it to the New Day. And like,
Yeah.
what about all the other tag teams that we have in there? Especially
Yeah.
someone like the gold standard Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, who I thought
Yeah.
was like one of the pinnacles. Get it, pinnacle? One of the
Yeah.
pinnacles of 205 Live.
He's a very good wrestler. They should definitely do more with him.
Yeah, definitely, and I hope that they are, and like I said, they're back together with Bobby Lashley, which I'm gonna get there, because there's a little something something there between the Hurt Business there. Anyways, the the start of Crown Jewel starts off, which I thought was pretty interesting, with the Hell in the Cell match between Seth Rollins and Edge.
I want to say we were part of us was going for Edge, but it will. But Seth Rollins is going to win because it'll be like passing the torch.
Well,
I think
I
that's
think
what we
that's
were
I think that's
saying.
what we're gonna go with, and I think I even told you, and obviously I cannot stress enough, like right now, how I am not worthy to be in the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins' presence. So I've embraced the future, Al. Sorry, Al. I'm not an edgehead. Will never be an edgehead. I thought his rated R superstar was cool, you know.
yeah,
But like the things he did with Lita and the whole Matt Hardy thing,
yeah,
I mean that was an actual shoot. And for the people who don't know what the term shoot is it was real. It was real life,
yeah,
and they put real life into a storyline, which Vince
yeah,
kind of likes to do, and we know drama sells because it does.
yeah,
But I mean, like, man, I wouldn't. This was just dirty. This was just dirty, and I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go with Seth, who has a beautiful newborn, and um, you know,
yeah.
um, ultimately, the match was awesome. Edge won,
Dang.
and but I remember Seth Rollins taking a crazy bump from Edge. He was on the top rope. Seth Rollins was on the top rope. There was a table that was in the bottom of the wrestling ring, on the floor, set up, and Edge just pushed him, and Seth Rollins like ricocheted off the cage and landed onto that table. So
Ooh.
it was a pretty crazy bump. I thought that was cool. Um, here's another one. Edge before winning went and punched. Let's just say Seth's crown jewels.
Punch that scoundrels.
So we could say goodbye to Seth's crown jewels and him having a second baby with the man. Uh, it's ultimately how Edge won in a way. So I thought that was pretty funny. Um, Also, another thing that kind of bothered me is Michael Cole. I guess he's known for a little bit of bouching and all that stuff, but maybe he was doing it on purpose. It's almost like they kind of erased Christian's history because Edge, they were selling the fact that Seth kept hitting Edge's moves, right?
Yeah.
And like one of the moves that Seth hit on Edge was the unprettier. And for all that know, for all the fans who know, the unprettier is Christian's move, but I found it funny that Michael Cole was saying that it was Edge's move. So it's like Seth Rollins is using all of Edge's finishers, and one of Edge's finishers is the unprettier. And I was thinking, like, no, that's
I don't
Christian.
know. That was. It could have been a botch, or he could have been told to say that because Vince doesn't want to. I mentioned someone that's in AEW.
Vince is left sour with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's always left sour. I mean, come on.
But I mean, other than that, like I said, the match was freaking awesome. Here on Rob is War, our rating system is 13 stars. So I would probably have given it like a shoes, man, like a. I mean, I'm gonna go with a 13. Honestly, I thought it was an awesome Hell in a Cell match, and it was also a Hell in a Cell match that Seth needed because obviously the last one of the last Hell in a Cell matches he had with which was obviously at Crown Jewel, I believe, with the Fiend. He,
SummerSlam, I want to say.
I thought it was at Crown Jewel
I thought it was SummerSlam.
with the Fiend.
Yeah. Where
Eh,
Seth hit him with a bunch of chairs.
Right,
SummerSlam.
SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know why I'm getting too mixed up. I could have sworn that they faced each other there too or something. But anyways, I remember Seth saying that he was pissed off at that match and he told Vince a bunch of stuff and so in my way, this is a way for Seth to get retribution on having a kick-ass Hell in a Cell match,
Yeah.
which he did.
That
The next
see, that doesn't really bury freaking Christian. Actually, no, no. I'm sorry, Seth Rollins botch.
match,
It helps Seth Rollins. The
yeah,
fact he won or lost, the fact he lost, it doesn't matter. It still helps him.
because the whole idea was like the ultimate opportunist of money in the bank back then was Edge, and the ultimate opportunist of this era is Seth.
Yeah,
So it was a dream match, and it was also one of those matches that you never knew you wanted
yeah.
type of scenario. It was just I think it was just an awesome match all
Oh
around,
yeah,
story wise. The way they set it up, and obviously, Edge getting revenge at the end, but ultimately Seth just having a freaking awesome Hell in a Cell match.
yeah,
The next match we had was pretty awesome, which I thought was cool that they did at Crown Jewel, and they've already like built up his story and everything, and he was also the hometown guy, and I'm talking about Mansoor versus Mustafa.
I want to say I was going for Mustafa because I uh I don't know much about the other guy, Mansoor.
Well, Mansoor came in like about 2 years ago or something like that. He's also won one of the greatest Royal Rumbles too. I believe.
Ah,
So
I think I do remember him then.
yeah, he already had what do you call it? He already had momentum, going into Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
with that win, and not only that, I thought this funny to me. I was thinking about this for a while. I think he's like the John Cena of Saudi Arabia.
Maybe.
He kind of had he was from there, Saudi Arabia, but he had like this all American look that these people could just get behind. It's funny. It was like watching this match was like watching Aladdin versus Jafar.
I see what you. Yeah.
Because here you had like the heartthrob, or like the all American, which he's not American though, but like the all pretty boy, or the face of Saudi Arabia, Mansoor, right? Facing this evil villain Mustafa, who's just had just and I just thought like
Yeah.
this is like Aladdin and Jafar, man.
Yeah.
Like this is pretty cool, you know. But ultimately, obviously, Mansoor got the win, and it was a win he needed.
Yeah.
Mustafa was pretty cool. I like Mustafa, because he obviously didn't want to be your typical like terrorist gimmick type of wrestler. He didn't want to go that route. But
Yeah.
funny enough, he's in this scenario. He is the bad guy, coming off of that faction they had, Retribution, I think.
Yeah. Apparently it flopped.
Yeah, we obviously knew that was gonna happen. Um, and not only that, he's
It had
also
potential to be good, but
he's also a former Chicago policeman.
oh, Mustafa.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
Mustafa is an actual cop from
That's
the
pretty
Chicago,
interesting.
Illinois area. Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't know that, but yeah. Right now, at this point, we obviously knew that Mustafa just had to put over Mansoor. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
Mansoor was the new guy, and but like I just think there's a lot of potential in Mansoor. If like I said, I don't know if you didn't watch the pay per view or not, but if you haven't, I suggest you watch that match. I'm gonna give that match probably a good 11 and a half stars. Because obviously Mansoor's new, and there could be things he could work on. Um,
Yeah.
and not only that, there was this character that came out right after. Um, I guess he was like a mixed martial artist that was from Saudi Arabia or something. He came out in this robe and something, and Michael Cole's like, "Who's this guy? And what's going on?" And obviously, like Mustafa's face was just like, who is this? He was confused by who was coming out, and basically this guy, I guess, was like an Olympic mixed martial art champion or something, because that's what they said from there. And obviously the fans knew him. Obviously, when he took off the robe, the crowd went
Yeah.
nuts. And they basically we're gonna beat on Mustafa. Mustafa goes, "I'm ain't gonna take this," and obviously he goes in, and that guy just lands a kick on him,
Huh.
and
That's
you
kind of
get cheap
funny.
pop. What Mick Foley calls it, the
Yeah.
cheap pop. Moving on, we had uh what's it called, RK Bro, Randy Orton, and Matt Riddles versus AJ Styles and Omos for the tag team titles. I think it's
I
for the Raw tag team titles.
I forgot who I was going for in that one.
Um, I believe we were gonna say something. I was thinking like I believe we were thinking about. I remember saying something like it would be cool if somehow Styles and Omos are gonna like fight each other, or there's gonna be something
Yeah.
there. That's what I ultimately see. And I also, what's was awesome about this is that Matt Riddle came out in a camel.
Ha!
And so you had everybody in the Saudi Arabian crowd going, "Bro, bro, bro,"
That's funny.
and him coming out to a camel, and obviously Orton looking like, "What the hell are you doing, man?"
Yeah.
That type of thing. So easily them. They ended up winning, obviously. But which is funny, the next on Raw, they freaking end up having a rematch or something like that. I don't know.
WWE and their rematches.
Yeah, I don't know. Um, but I was also gonna say this, like Styles teaming up with Omos is just shows how phenomenal Styles is too.
Oh yeah.
Like whether he's in the singles match or whether he's working with anybody, he always seems to find a way to make them that much better. You know.
Oh yeah.
So I thought that was cool, and I thought it was also cool with Matt Riddle because Matt Riddle is a known UFC MMA guy. For people who don't know,
Yeah.
he's also had a pay per view called Bloodsport from GCW Game Changer Wrestling that he's done before. So like this guy is legit. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool to actually see him on this level, and not only that, like you would never know that he was an MMA guy because like his wrestling is just so good too.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know, you don't really see it. Um, so
Very good
yeah,
wrestler.
so eventually I see Omos and Styles splitting up. Man, I don't know. It's eventually gonna happen, I think,
Yeah.
and hopefully we'll get Styles obviously because Rumble's coming around and Styles winning a Rumble or something, and we need solo Styles again.
Oh yeah, we do. Definitely.
And Omos would be just great on his own. I mean, if we get like
Oh yeah.
Omos versus Big E or like stuff like that, you know,
Oh yeah.
Omos versus McIntyre, you know, stuff like that. Um, Here's going to be an interesting one. I don't know who we're going for on this one. This was the Queen's Crown Finals, and it was Selena Vega versus Dewdrop. And I believe we were going for Zelina.
Yeah.
I believe we were saying it would be dumb for WWE to have brought, to have fired her and then bring her in only just to maybe embarrass her or whatever, or bury her or
Yeah.
whatever. So but ultimately she ends up winning, you know. I again with I've been saying this on episode 2 that with the stupid Dewdrop name. They
Yeah.
should have left it at Piper Nevins, and that's who I knew her
If
as in NXT UK.
if they kept her as Piper Nevin, the match could have had more or better promoting because people would have been more like into it.
Yeah, and especially from across seas, maybe they would have related to her as Piper than as this Dewdrop thing.
Yeah, because that's just a dumb name.
But like I guess we both can agree that Zelina did need this win. So it's gonna be interesting where she goes from this and how she's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
take it. Ultimately I want to see her do something with Charlotte and like this whole Queen and Queen thing.
same.
I think would be funny. Um the next match was very interesting to me. I think this is the match that just I can't even say it. Like it's the match for Crown Jewel for me, and I think another match that well, let's just say it. It was Goldberg versus Lashley.
I want to say we were going. I was going for Goldberg just for the nostalgia feel.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember who I was going for, but anyways, I thought it was just an awesome match all around, man. It really was. I've also expressed that how Goldberg is like the Undertaker of Crown Jewel.
Yeah,
And they tried to have that match, but we all know what happened during that
yeah,
match. And I believe that's why this match was so important because Goldberg got retribution himself, and he wrote the wrongs from the Taker match with this
yeah,
match. Not only that, I think it was one of his longest matches he's had. And Michael Cole said it wasn't about the wins and losses, and it really wasn't. There was a story to be told here where Lashley now messed with his son.
yeah,
I put him in like the hurt lock, and obviously ultimately it was about Goldberg's family and getting revenge.
yeah,
So I thought it was awesome. I thought it was awesome that his kid got involved. Um, I thought it was funny instead of because like he's always doing stuff like this with the your next stuff.
yeah,
Like I think who was it when he said your last, and he was gonna be his last match, but it wasn't. With this one, he goes you're dead. And so I thought that would have been cool if they made like a T-shirt of that.
you're dead.
You're dead. Not only that, I don't know if this would be the first match that Goldberg has been in that was a no DQ match. I don't ever remember if he's ever been in a match like that.
I know he's been in a Hell in a Cell elimination chamber.
True, true. I remember that one too, and he wrecked havoc on that one.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was pretty interesting with that. I loved how the commentary team was selling the kids angle, and obviously Corey being on Lashley's side and being like, "Well, the kid got in the way. He shouldn't have been involved."
Only if we would have had Jerry Lawler from the '90s come and take that match. Woo!
And then
That boy is savage.
obviously Lashley's spear versus spear, Lashley's spear
Yeah.
versus Goldberg's spear, which ultimately that's how the match ended, with Goldberg spearing Lashley off of the stage
Ooh.
onto a table, and that's how the match ended. So I thought that was awesome. Because he could have won already. I think he already had speared him, gave him the jackhammer, and they were gonna count the 1, 2, 3, but he ended up like picking him up and saying, "Nope, that's not it." And so that's when like the whole match really, really began even more.
Right.
So yeah, man. Not only that, it also proves that Goldberg can still go.
Yeah.
At the age that he's at, he's almost like Metallica for me.
Right.
Where Goldberg is like Metallica right now, where like how doesn't matter how old they are, like man, he can still move.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I heard. The same thing with Metallica, that they can still write and they can still go at it for the age they're at. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, now the next match obviously was the King of the Ring finals, which we were obviously all going for Finn
Yeah.
here. Finn Balor versus Xavier Woods, but we obviously knew who needed to win.
Xavier Woods.
And Xavier Woods did ended up winning, I believe, with Kofi putting the crown on him and stuff. And so I thought that was cool. Now that Kofi was champ, Big E is champ, and now we got Woods, that they're setting it up for that. And hopefully, I mean, if maybe we'll get Hill Balor, you know,
Yeah.
instead. But I know that Woods can bring a flavor to the crown.
Yeah.
And
Now it makes sense because each member of the New Day has won something big.
yeah, yeah, they want something big, and that's ultimately what.
Kingston won the world title. Big E is now the world champion, and Kofi Kingston won King of the Ring. That, if done right, could literally boost his career, like
Yep,
it did Booker T, Sheamus,
and not,
Austin, Brett. You know what I mean?
and that's what I'm saying. And also, Woods he has charisma, so I believe he could do something that Corbin didn't.
Yeah,
So I believe we could get something there. So that was cool. And speaking
yeah,
of Big E, that was the next match. We had the heavyweight title, or was it the WWE title? Right, he has a WWE
yeah,
championship.
yeah.
Big E versus Drew McIntyre.
I want to say I was going for Big E because he needed it more.
Yeah, at this point, Drew doesn't really need it, but I do love Drew's evolution. From going from like the chosen one all the
Yeah.
way up to what he is now. I think that's pretty cool.
Oh
And
yeah.
it also gives the rub to Big E that Big E is a legitimate champion,
Yeah.
defeating a former champion.
Yeah.
And not only that, Drew McIntyre also got drafted to SmackDown, so
It would
that
have made
also
sense.
so that makes sense. Like I think Drew's gonna be good on SmackDown,
Oh
and also
yeah.
maybe we're gonna get Drew versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
So yeah, Big E definitely needed to retain that. The next match is the match I told you that was kind of my least favorite. I felt like it was a filler, and that was Becky versus Sasha versus Bianca. I felt like obviously we know that Bianca should have never lost that title.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just feel like the women's division is just stale. And it's the same girls over and over. It's always the same four
Yeah, I
horsewomen.
hate that. Like, come on, man. Like, you got a lot of women on that roster. Use them.
And didn't you tell me off camera or something like that Charlotte was kind of voting for the kind of wanting Bianca to be champion, or
From what I read, Charlotte wanted Bianca to beat her, I guess, on Raw or something. But before that, but Vince didn't want that.
so I know there's a lot of confliction there between Becky, Charlotte, and them, where there's this creative difference happening.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things going on there for sure, man. Um, yeah. So it was my least favorite, obviously, and this whole big time Becky thing is kind of cool, and it's the next step up from the man. But I mean, I think her value's gone down, and it's not her fault either, obviously, because
It's just,
she's a newborn mother.
yeah.
She's fresh. She's a mom now with a newborn
Mm.
baby, and so I get that.
Oh yeah,
She knew that she probably couldn't have came back as the man anyway. So
yeah,
um the and now we get the last match, which is Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Which again, I thought it was a great match too. It was almost like the Lashley and Goldberg match where it was all story, and they set it up to where like they're fighting for the rights of Heyman or something like
yeah.
that. Um, Not only that, but the stuff Reigns is doing is like his best work right now, I believe, with the heel stuff.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
that's
and then
what he needed. Every
and yeah, go ahead.
no, I said
Like
go.
with this match,
Go ahead.
with this match, I saw Goro versus Aquaman. It was an awesome match. But
Yeah.
obviously, obviously it was funny because, um, well, the Usos got involved.
As usual, people like to complain. It's not fair. It's like just like interference, but it's because
He's a heel.
he is the heel. That always happens.
Well,
Even
not only
in
that,
freaking AEW, that happens.
but like it's funny because, going back to what I was saying about the Hurt Business, as I forgot to mention in the Goldberg and Lashley match, the Hurt Business got involved too, and
Yeah.
tried to help out Lashley, but obviously they got their butt whooped by Goldberg, and ultimately Lashley got speared off the stage. So,
Yeah.
but in this match, the Usos, I believe, are the heavyweight champions. They're the ones
Yeah.
that ultimately got Reigns to get that win.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Ultimately, and not only that, I was gonna say I think Lesnar's reign as champion is like 509, and Roman is at 417 right now.
Dang.
So in other words, he had to beat Lesnar in order to become now
Yeah.
the top dog of WWE,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that honestly because like I said, a lot of people booed him for years and didn't like Reigns, and now people are like now starting to understand what he's all about.
Yeah.
And not only that,
He just
what
needed a character change. That's all he really.
needed,
That's all he needed.
and that's all they all. That's every wrestler needs that. Every wrestler
Yeah,
needs to
because of
evolve
the,
and a
because
character change.
yeah, because of Dean Ambrose evolved, Seth Rollins evolved, except for Reigns. He was still doing that Shield gimmick for
Yeah,
the longer guess time. He needed a character change.
yeah, for sure, man. But I mean, like I said, ultimately, Crown Jewel was awesome. It was one
Oh
of the
yeah,
better pay per views. Hell yeah.
good to
Um,
hear.
yeah, exactly. Any other shows that we know of that happened?
Once say Bound for Glory happened.
Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory will happen on Saturday. Uh, which was I need to still go back and watch a few of that stuff and regain my thoughts. Maybe we can do something
Yeah,
on the next episode with all this other stuff because we need to break
yeah,
down. We need, there's so little time, and we're trying to keep it as short and sweet as we can. But there is just so much wrestling out there, Al. I
oh
mean,
yeah.
we got Bound for Glory, which I thought, like I said, with Bound for Glory, Moose ultimately won. Uh, we saw the return of the Demon from WCW. What in the world?
Yeah, that's
What
pretty awesome.
what 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 times are we living in right now that you bring back
98? I
out
don't
of
know.
like, but you bring back out of nowhere a character you probably people don't even know who it
Yeah,
is.
no
Only
one remembers.
except for me because Rob knows all. Uh,
Yeah.
but the demon, man, I thought that was pretty cool. Then obviously you had the most predictable one, which was they were called the Iconics in WWE, but now came and
Yeah,
debuted in Bound for Glory as in the Inspiration with two eyes and
yeah.
faced Decay, Rosemary, and Havoc for the TNA Impact Knockout Championships. And you can only imagine who won that match.
The inspirations.
Now, I don't know. I don't know how it's funny how wrestling works because I'm pretty sure you would have had a bunch of people crying if
If
WWE did
WWE
that.
did it, yeah.
But
But if
since,
Impact does it, it's fine. It's cool.
yeah, man. And so I don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, it just the fan base is very confusing.
Very, very, very confusing.
Because technically, if you think about it, the WWE did give the fans what they wanted. They wanted Daniel Bryan to be champion, and what happened? They complained.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, ultimately, from what I heard, like I said, I need to go back and watch it, and I know those were some of the highlights with the demon returning and the now inspiration debuting. Yeah, probably the next episode I'll get into more of
Yeah,
those results. But we also had AEW Dynamite for the second time on a Saturday, which was good. We had Ruby versus Penelope Ford, with Ruby getting the win. This was for the TBS Women's Tournament, which is going to be pretty good. Ultimately, I don't know who I want to win that, but that's for another episode, obviously.
yeah,
um, we had there was a bunch of stuff that happened. Now, I mean, like I said, Ruby got the win, which was bittersweet because Penelope and the bunny had ended up beating up Ruby, so she ultimately got the win. We had Bobby Fish come out. He attacked somebody. I forgot who he attacked.
I heard he turned heel. I read that.
Yeah, and CM Punk came in for the save, setting up for Bobby Fish versus CM Punk, which I think is going to be an awesome
Good.
match. And I
Yeah.
also love the fact that Bobby Fish's theme song sounds like Danzig. um, so I thought that was cool. That's going to be interesting. We had, man, yeah, AEW Dynamite was just ultimately badass too.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into stuff like that from Bound for Glory, AEW. There's just a bunch of stuff that's going on in
Yeah.
wrestling all over the world, man.
I know
So
you're talking to me about GCW a little bit.
yeah, we got GCW, which is like to me is like the modern ECW. What they got they're calling him the Deathmatch King. Nick Gage and the Briscoes just debuted, and they also had a pay per view called Bloodsport, which is Bloodsport 7, which is almost like a Fight Club type of feel where they don't have any ropes, and it's just
Yeah.
combat wrestling MMA. That's another one y'all should check out. Yeah, man, there was a lot of wrestling this whole week, man.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
said, we had Crown Jewel, we had Rampage, you had Evolution, you had Dark, you had like I said, GCW had I think two pay per views, War Ready and this Bloodsport 7, which I'm gonna check out and I'll review at a later date. Same thing with AEW Saturday's Dynamite. I thought it was awesome how they're setting up this feud with MJF and Sting and Darby.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning America's top team. What do
It's
you feel
actually
about
pretty good.
them?
It's pretty good.
How it's half
Funny.
half MMA, half wrestling faction. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The stuff that you're saying, that they're doing with the inner circle, which ultimately would be cool if they did with the Pinnacle as well.
Yeah. But
Uh,
heel versus heel, cause just the imagine MJF and like that one dude going at it as heels, just talking shit to each other. That would just be gold.
it just be yeah, exactly. Um, I mean, there's so much wrestling. Like I said, like we can easily
Hmm.
dissect. I can easily spend another hour dissecting Bound for Glory. Spend another hour dissecting AEW Dynamite, GCW. I mean, we haven't even got into the G1 Climax stuff yet,
Yeah.
Al. I
The
mean,
G1 Climax.
it's funny that we talk about how we want a lot of wrestling, but then when you go watch New Japan, I think you're gonna change that. I don't think you're gonna want a lot of wrestling because
it's
they
out. It's long.
I don't know if you think WWE schedules are hectic, I can only imagine New Japan's schedules, man. Because
Yeah.
I mean,
20-minute matches every match. Woo.
and every single day, I mean, they're having tournaments like that last for weeks,
Yeah.
and
The
that's
new
insane.
the G1 Climax is pretty much. the Road to Wrestle Kingdom. It's like the grandest tournament. I feel the biggest tournament.
also known as Murphy Kingdom.
Murphy Kingdom. We will get into
So
that.
we're gonna get into be getting into a bunch of stuff, a bunch of wrestling guys. Just stick tight to with us, man. I mean, like I
Oh
said,
yeah,
like we have a lot of stuff we're gonna be covering, and like I said, GCW was just one of them. That's not talking about like ICW, Defiance,
yeah.
WPCPW. There's a lot of stuff out there, and I'm telling you,
MLW.
MLW, Ring of Honor, PCW, Mutiny, Ultra. You got Booker T's promotion, which Sammy Guevara and Thunder Rosa have wrestled in,
Oh
which
yeah.
is a reality of wrestling based off of Houston. I mean, you've got so much wrestling out there, out of there. I don't want to say out of there. You got so much wrestling out there that it's crazy, man. It's crazy
Oh yeah.
to stick with all this, man.
Yeah, it is.
But like I said, these you stick to us. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and repeat. Like, subscribe, comment, and
Come
repeat.
and repeat.
um, we're gonna be getting into a bunch of stuff. Like I said, for the next coming weeks, we got,
Yeah.
we got to dissect what Bound for Glory is all about. There's gonna be a lot of things, a lot of changes happening in Impact Wrestling, because Bound for Glory was like their WrestleMania, the G1 Climax, like the Murph here was saying, is this tournament that's almost like Money in the Bank meets like like a cup style tournament where the winner is ultimately gonna take on the champion at their biggest pay per view. It's like the Japanese of WrestleMania, Wrestle
Mhm.
Kingdom. Um, there's gonna be a lot of interesting stuff. Like I said with GCW,
Oh
there's
yeah.
this underground promotion who is just working their way up more and more and more. And yeah, I mean, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Actually, I do. Uh, my drummer John. I want to give him a little shout out. His dad passed away last month, and he just put him to rest this past Thursday. I believe he had a lot of things on his plate. You know me, it was the only one doing that stuff. I mean I know how it is to lose a parent.
Yeah, man, and like I
So
said, our thoughts and prayers go out to John Soto,
yeah.
the drummer of Votan, who is in my mind a legend of blast beats. Man, this guy is just a legend.
Yeah,
I've known this guy in my singing days when I was in Sewn Shut.
yeah,
Back when you and I met, Al.
yeah,
Uh, back as far as back then during those underground days, and I know a lot of people and listeners out there in the Corpus area will know what the underground days are all
yeah,
about. With two stages of one night, it was just crazy, man. It was just a
yeah.
bunch of
That's
crazy
crazy.
stuff,
Fun
you know.
times.
Um, but our thoughts and prayers go out to you, man.
Yeah,
For real. Words cannot express. Words cannot express it, Al.
yeah.
Uh,
And also speaking of babies, because you did mention Becky Lynch had a baby.
yeah.
My good friend Jen and her boyfriend Victor, they both had a baby girl about a couple of days after John's dad passed away, or a day after.
I mean, I mean, for every darkness
Tough
there is a
times, yeah. Tough
for
times,
every
but also
yeah
something good comes
for
out.
every darkness there is a light, and it's just you
Yeah,
gotta just take advantage of this life. Don't take it for granted,
yeah,
but always tell the people around you that you love them. Don't be afraid of that.
yeah.
Always keep in contact with your family members and your friends, your loved ones. For
Most
sure, Al.
definitely.
For sure, Al. But anyways, like I said, stay tuned. We're gonna be getting into a bunch of wrestling over the next few weeks, months, years, who knows?
Yeah.
For as long as you want to be hearing this podcast, like I said, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, repeat. Like I
Mhm.
said, like, subscribe, comment, repeat, and Al, snap into this podcast.
Step into the podcast.